understanding how to be balanced with the world around us. And that's why when you read a lot of these ancient writings on how to reach higher states of consciousness, you find that it's essential, and I mean that, I want to repeat that, it's essential that you understand and go back to your roots of your place on this earth and with the animals and plants around it, and your place in the solar system and the stars. What is your place here? Are you, are you in the survival of the fittest mentality where you're just taking whatever you want and destroying whatever you want around you with no repercussions? Is that how the human race should act, especially given what we are in our history? Or have we just gone down a dark road where we're at the same place where some other civilizations have been, where they were destroyed and lost? I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from looking at reading the Atrahasis and what they say specifically happened with these disasters that occurred. Reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, read the Sumerian King List, read the Legend of Etania, the stories of the Hopi and in the Bible about what happened, where all these things were lost before. And we're just regaining those things now. And so that's why Atlantis is so important, because it represents this central city hub, I think, of what the world was at the time. We think maybe today of a place like London and New York City, or all these different places as being, Washington, D.C., whatever people want to try to say is like this is the commerce center or the capital of our world. I think Atlantis acted as that for all these ancient megalithic civilizations. And so that's why it's so important that we then take into account of what Plato said and what these ley lines were connecting these civilizations all over the world. Why were they all found on these convergence of energy? Is that just a coincidence? Or is that a piece of the puzzle for us to understand these structures? And so to do that, to understand the past, to understand what happened that we're missing, we have to understand what Thoth said, which was, remember, he was one of the main priests of Atlantis. He had all the knowledge of Atlantis. He's the one who jump-started Egypt, which was called Chem. And he's the one who then influenced, or at least one of the incarnations of, that helped influence, the Maya and the Aztec and a lot of these ancient cultures around the world. So to find out the answers, we have to read from what he left behind. And that was called the Emerald Tablets. Okay, and this was then carried over to later Hermetic writings were written by Hermes, which I believe was also an incarnation. As crazy as that may sound to some people, read what he says about his different incarnations and about how he essentially mastered reality in terms of, instead of having to die and losing almost everything you know and having to start over, what if you didn't? What if you could transmute your consciousness into another body and then have all of your memories and experiences and knowledge retained into that next body?
Right there, Matt. Matt. If I could interject for a second,
please, Steve, please.
The fact that what you just stated right there, I remember back when, I don't know, just a few years ago, where reincarnation was enough. Well, recently I've come to realize that you can free yourself even from that through a process of enlightenment by looking inside, which is called the divine union. But there is, like you said, there is a way to hold on to your consciousness so today can live on through time into the days of tomorrow. And that's right. It's stated in the tablets over and over again. That's right, and we're gonna get into that specifically. Is how can you get beyond the system that's here? This system of incarnation. Is it possible for you to not be incarnated again? As hard as that is to try to wrap your head around, what if you, in this lifetime, you were able to do certain things and accomplish certain things, both eternally and outwardly, where you could somehow ascend and become a different form of energy where you wouldn't have to come repeat this over and over again? And that's what this, I believe that this experience we're having really is it's a place where people are supposed to grow and learn. And or those who decide they want to come here, some of these people who just seem so gifted here, who just seem like you go online and you learn so much about how could they understand the knowledge they have. I've come across so many people like that, where they really just seem like they're not like other people. And I believe that there are
this is an important time we're in right now. And there are what you call maybe even ascended masters who are here in this whole idea of, well, incarnating to another body because at a certain time period is that important where it matters. And that's why I want to read Emerald Tablet number 1, where Thoth specifically states that, talks about how he, where he came from and how he basically rose above and beyond that cycle to become what he is now. And so,
hello?
I want to begin by reading Emerald Tablet number 1.
I thought I lost you. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to read Emerald Tablet number 1, and then we can discuss Steve's, because Steve is a huge researcher of the Emerald Tablets as well. I, Thoth the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those who are to come after, these mighty of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. In the great city of Kior, on the island of Undal, in a time far past, I began this incarnation. Not as the little men of the present age did, the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from aeon to aeon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. 100 times 10 have I descended the dark way that led into light. And as many times have I ascended from the darkness into the light, my strength and power renewed. Now for a time I descend, and the men of Chem shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn, I will rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those who left behind me. Then beware, O men of Chem, if ye have falsely betrayed my teaching, for I shall cast ye down from your high estate, into the darkness of the caves from whence you came. Betray not my secrets to the men of the north, or the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon ye. Remember and heed my words, for surely will I return again, and require of thee that which ye guard. Even from beyond time and beyond death will I return, rewarding or punishing, as ye have repeated your trust. Great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of the little people now around me, knowing the wisdom of old, seeking far within the heart of infinity, knowledge that belonged to earth's youth. Wise were we the wisdom of the children of light who dwelled among us. Strong were we the power drawn from the eternal fire. In all of these, greatest among the children of men, was my father, Thothme, keeper of the great temple, link between the children of light, who dwelt within the temple of the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. So I want to just give a little bit of commentary on that, Steve, and then you can come in and chime in on a little bit of your thoughts. Because one of the things that's so difficult about this, much like many other ancient writings as well, is that they've actually been specifically written in many cases so that the information within them will only be able to be revealed by those who are truly supposed to understand it, because of their studying and their looking at understanding symbolically what was supposed to be said long ago. So a lot of this was written in parables and metaphors and hidden within symbolic representations. However, not everything is, in my opinion, is purely just symbolic. I think that one of the ways that they loved to write back then was so that they could both represent something on a linear level and on a non-linear level at the same time. That's the brilliance behind their work. And so I just want to bring up really quickly what he says specifically was that when he's writing this, he's actually writing it from the perspective of in Egypt. He says he's writing it when he was in Chem. So this is his knowledge he left behind when he left Atlantis. So he's in Chem, and he's about to go into one of his cycle changes where he's going to go rest and then incarnate into another body. And he's leaving this message behind before he does. And that's what's so amazing about it. And he says specifically that his father of Atlantis, the keeper of the great temple, Thothme, was the link between the children of light who dealt in the temple and the races of men, okay, or who resided on the 10 islands of the world. That is a fascinating thing to wrap your head around, because it means basically that who he states are these children of light, these ancient ones, these ancient beings that I believe are the ones who had given this knowledge down long ago. They were only accessible by those who were part of these pyramid priests and these sages in these great temples. And the rest of society had no access to them or their knowledge. And I think that's one of the ways and one of the reasons why they've been considered just a myth and not real. Because so much time has gone by that we have this whole idea of incarnation, but before that, we had this idea of disseminating knowledge. And the question is, where did that come from? How could you just find this rise of civilization that comes out of nowhere if it wasn't based on something that influenced them? Now, Steve, go ahead and give your take on how you feel that those passages or in Tablet 1 of the Emerald Tablet is really symbolic or trying to say.
Yes, sir. From a layman's perspective, from just, I kid you not, a month ago, I had not a clue what it all meant, and I was still in search of, just like the Leonard Nimoy's In Search of series was, I felt just like that, where I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew there was something there. But recently, I've come to information that has been hidden from us, or not hidden maybe on purpose, but hidden through the deeds of man. By man, I mean by the ego of man, and man's inability to see past his nose for anything that is non-physical or non-tangible or nonsensical, if you will. But how I see the Atlantean story is it breaks our brain down. It breaks it, first and foremost, from all of the ancient knowledge that I've studied. Everything comes back to the mind. Everything is mind first and then manifest second. So that tells me, first and foremost, that the Atlantean story is a tale of our mind. And I did some extensive research. I did a video recently about it where I actually started crying during the video because it was so overwhelming that I couldn't believe what I had come to the conclusion of, that the island of Kior and the island of Undal are the two opposite sides of our brain. And out of equilibrium. They're separated by a big wall in the middle, and one faces the other, and the 10 rings have to do with the zodiac, or the cranial nerves in the top of our head, and then there's a couple, and then the 3 that are left behind to enlighten man are the 3 that are left over, which are the Son, the Father, and the Holy Ghost, or the Isis, Osiris, and Horus. And that completes the 13, the 12, and the 1. And that's, it's far more extensive than I have time to even interject here. But I believe you're correct that, everything in our physical world is manifest on Malkuth, which is the root of the Sephirotic tree, or the tree of life, and the Kether, which is, in my opinion, Pluto, which is the Ba, or the inside, or the soul or spirit realm, and that's where the whole underworld comes into play. But yeah, I think that at first it's an allegory about our mind. But then through our mind exercise, it was created in a physical manifestation on Earth. And I think these cycles all play out within us and without us, if that makes sense.
Well said. I do agree with you that there is a symbolic aspect to it. But the only thing that I see in a different perspective is that there was an actual linear realism to what they're saying as well. But for instance, what I'm saying is, I do think that the fall of Atlantis was a symbolic way to look at the fall of consciousness in man. Because we lost all that knowledge, and then we had to go down in consciousness because we were restarted. But at the same time, it still was a physical loss. So I think there's two ways to look at it. in terms of what it's trying to say. And that's why I want to lead into how Thoth states that he started his current incarnation in the city of Kior on the island of Undal, in which the children of light had these direct connections that you could contact them and have these higher conscious enlightening moments with. And what I find fascinating is when they get into pre-dynastic Egypt and this whole changing over your incarnation cycles of your energy, regarding specifically around the halls of Amenti. Okay, what are the halls of Amenti? Are they some kind of a grid here where soul incarnation is managed and controlled here, or are they just a symbolic representation? And that's why I want to read. We're going to go into tablet number 8, which talks about that, and we'll provide a little bit more information regarding what exactly that means. Now, before I read tablet number 8, it's really fascinating that Thoth specifically states that he's trying to free himself of this bondage here. Okay, just like the Anuna, if we want to get into what these ancient ones, what they called themselves were. That's the exact same thing that they talk about in the Adrahasis. This undoing the chain to set them free. What is this chain here? It's this control of the physical world, I believe. It's being stuck in physical matter and having to incarnate over and over again. Whereas you could ascend your energy so that it's eternal in a way where you never had to be in that cycle. You were essentially above the cycle, higher dimensions as a higher state of energy. And that's what I think is so fascinating when you look at how Thoth was supposedly given that ascension privilege of having to never come back if he didn't want to. And instead he chose to stay and just incarnate over and over again into man, but with his knowledge, so that he could be the eternal teacher, the patient ibis, the eternal teacher of mankind, because he felt that without his teachings and without his wisdom, that mankind would become forever lost. And so I do see Thoth as being the great messenger of consciousness and knowledge from all that was lost from Atlantis and the other civilizations that were like it.
Can I interject just one more time,
sure.
Bud? So your opinion is of mine then, Thoth is more than just a mere man. He's the consciousness itself.
Well, he is in charge of, I believe he's in charge or designated to be this wisdom imparter of higher consciousness. So as in, he basically says that he has all the secrets of mankind. And that he, over time, he's discovered all of them. And so in essence, he's become the messenger of what some would call the prime creator or the source. He is like the messenger of what some would call God or the higher realms. He is this messenger of mankind. And that was what his role was specifically designated as. And that's why I see so many connections with the serpent and the dragon and his affiliations with that, also with Enki all around the world. But that's where it gets really confusing. And this is where I want to talk about, as we read tablet number 8, is this whole idea of the underworld and how it's been associated with as being hell in this evil place where this evil satanistic Satan being lives, whereas it's really, I believe the whole thing has been misunderstood and misjudged by a lot of later religions who turned it in as a form of control, heaven and hell. Whereas really, when we're about to read this, we're going to look at how certain beings ended up having to play certain roles. And one of those roles was being in charge of what souls can incarnate here, this Osiris role, of what souls are allowed to incarnate over and over again, and who has to go back to the beginning, and who can ascend beyond that state of energy. And so this whole idea of evil being in the underworld, yeah, I think it's a two-part thing. I do believe that there is evil that can be conjured from the underworld, absolutely, through blood sacrifice. But I also believe that based on the role that certain beings have had to play, they've been almost forced to be there. And I think the legend of Atanya is a great example of that, talking about how the serpent was forced to be in the position it was in because it was tricked by the eagle. And I think it's a symbolic representation to talk about how these roles were given based on deception and how the different, you could call them different archetypes of how different beings would perceive reality went into our understanding. And I think it's very complex. So I want to read some of tablet number 8, and then we're going to discuss it, and then we'll end out on talking about the underworld. So in tablet number 8, it starts by saying, wisdom is hidden in darkness when lit by the flame of the soul. Find thou the wisdom and be light born, a son of the light without form. Seek thee evermore wisdom, find it in the heart of the flame. Now have I spoken with wisdom, list to my voice and obey. Tear open the veils of the darkness, shine a light on the way. Speak I of ancient Atlantis, speak I of the days of the kingdom of shadows. Speak I of the coming of the children of shadows. Out of the great deep they were called, by the wisdom of earth men, called for the purpose of gaining great power. Far in the past, before Atlantis existed, men there who delved into darkness, using dark magic, calling up beings from the great deep below us. Forth came they into our cycle, formless were they of another vibration, existing unseen by the children of earthly men. Only through blood could they have formed being, only through man could they have lived in the world. In ages past, they were conquered by masters, driven below to the place whence they came. By some they were those who remained, hidden in spaces and plains unknown to man. Lived they in Atlantis as shadows, but at times they appeared among men. In the form of man they among us, but only to sight were they as men. Serpent-headed when their glamour was listed, but appearing to men as men among men. Crept they into councils, taking forms that were like unto men, slaying by their arts and chiefs of the kingdoms, taking their form and ruling over man. Only by magic could they be discovered, only by sound could their faces be seen. Sought they from the kingdom of shadows to destroy men and the rule in their place. Again, as time passes onward, shall they take the semblance of men. Seek not the kingdom of shadows, for evil will surely appear. For only the masters of brightness shall conquer the shadows of fear. And I want to talk about that for a second, and then Steve could chime in. But you find out some really, really fascinating things when he talks about that. Basically speaking about how during the time of Atlantis, black magic was used with black sacrifice to bring about really dark, I guess what you really could call these demonic beings who then incarnated into human beings and took over a lot of secret societies and places from within to then become these rulers, which the Gnostics called the archons, which means rulers of our reality. And that's what they called them, is the fact that there are beings that can be brought forth using blood sacrifice that can offer great power and all these things. Now, I want to stop there. As insane as that just sounded to many people who don't know this stuff, that sounds totally crazy. Go look at Bohemian Grove and go look at all the blood sacrifice or mock sacrifice events that happen with so many secret societies and groups around history from the very beginning, where every time this blood sacrifice is used, there's this corrupting aspect. Look at the Mayans and the Aztec. The same thing happened there, except that it's always blamed on the same God that provided them wisdom and enlightenment. This serpent, this evil serpent. I want to get back to what it said specifically in Tablet 8. It said serpent-headed, not serpent, serpent-headed. And what's the serpent means is a symbolic of knowledge, wise, knowledgeable. So they're saying that these beings that are brought forth, that incarnate through black magic, they're these incredibly intelligent and cunning beings who outwit and outthink mankind to, even though they were the ones who were brought forth by mankind, maybe often take over and corrupt them to control them. And I think there's a lot of aspects of it that go beyond just a symbolic means, or even beyond what we can really comprehend at this time, because so much has been lost of the structure of our reality in the past that we look at this now and we're trying to piece all these things together, and it just doesn't make sense. But I see this as halls of Amenti, this place that was established as this soul incarnation energy place that is, I believe, is the earth. It's always talked about it in Egypt, how there's this whole weighing of the heart, this weighing of the soul before their energy is judged. Well, who's judging it? Who's basing those judgments on that? And that's where I think a lot of these things go beyond just a symbolic aspect. But they're very difficult to try to wrap our heads around, because how could a being who's so advanced somehow be in charge of different cycles? How could they be somehow in charge of these different realms? But that's exactly what a lot of these teachings talk about, is how these certain roles were assigned and to be played by certain non-physical, these non-mankind beings. And so I want to just say one more thing before Steve chimes in. But they specifically called back then an underworld spirit, just like from the shadows that we just mentioned, who's brought forth by a mortal priest, is actually called an Atuku. They have a specific name for them in Mesopotamia, and they mention them in stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh, how that was something that was done long ago. So the more you read about these tablets, and the more you read about these ancient writings from all over the world, it really becomes almost like a science fiction reality, because so much of our past and our understanding of how reality works and how things were done before has been lost. They were really just trying to regain the pieces of it. Steve, what's your take on it?
Well, you're crafty, Matt, because I thought me and you were worlds apart, but you've managed to say exactly where I've come to rest on my belief as far as the tablets goes. And let me give you a little backstory as to the tablets and me and myself. Is the Emerald tablets, I first came across those from you, Gerald Clark, Rex Bear, and a couple other people, reading them online and referencing them. And I'm going to be completely honest here and tell everybody that I never read one book in my life, never from front to cover or front to back, because I never had the patience. I always had ADHD and I couldn't sit still long enough to read anything. Well, this book, this Emerald Tablets, the first thing you read in it is read it. Whether or not you like it, read it 100 times over. And it'll bring you gnosis or knowledge every time you read it. So I've read it now. I'm on my almost 60th time now. And it wasn't till, like I said, 4 weeks ago where I understood it. And I understand the Bible now. I understand this book. And it all has to do with exactly what you were just talking about, the light. The light is the purveyor of our consciousness. We create that light through our self-awareness, our self-conscious awareness of who we are and what we are in the universe. And to answer what I believe you're the answer to the someone being in charge of the cycles, I think it is just the cycles that are the natural way. Because if you look at all creation myths, all creation stories, they start out at the top as two. It's the logo separating the chaotic waters into Tiamat and to Apsu, and then it goes down to a lower one where it's Enki, Ea, and Enlil, and Anu. And then it goes down to another lower, where, you know what I mean, a doubling effect. And I think that's exactly what it's all about. And the Dark Brothers are the ones, like you said, they are the ones that have reached this divine union or this level of gnosis, but they have not capped their pyramid as of yet, because they would not be behaving in the way they were. And that's where I think our society has been steered astray, is where man, in his own deluded, self-absorbed, power-hungry, money-hungry type outlook on life, felt they had the right or the need to steer all of humanity over a cliff, per se, just because they weren't. You have this knowledge, I believe. You can still know it. You can still hold on to it into your next incarnation, but you're never going to be free of the cycle. And from the natural order of things, I believe, from the cosmic, from the galactic to the universal to the everything.
Minted clues to understand what they knew. And so we're all just, we're trying to put these pieces together. I try to come at it from looking at, well, what's the actual evidence that still remains? What kind of teachings then reflect that evidence? And what objectively makes sense? You know, when you read things like this, is there something that goes beyond just words? Is there, you know, the feeling that's within you from reading this? And I know that you feel the same way, Steve, and that's why this path of truth, discovering truth and trying to find out what we lost to try to help disseminate and teach this information to others is so important to do. It is, in my opinion, it is the purpose of why we're here, to make a better world and to try to come back to so far from where we strayed from. And I want to close it out on that, Steve. We are here at this time period where we're going to have to decide what this path is going to be ahead of us. Will we understand and separate this physical body from our eternal energy, or are we going to keep focusing on this Ka world, which is the physical world, this physical world that binds us, in fact? And that's where I see all of these teachings and wisdom coming into play, where we can finally ascend beyond this and really reach what we were supposed to all along, which is higher states of energy and awareness of the universe and the purpose we have within that. And so, hey, Steve, thanks a lot for a great discussion.
Hey, I've got a few questions for you, Matthew, if you don't mind. You got a couple more minutes? I could pick your brain?
Couple more minutes, sure.
You're familiar with chemtrails. I mean, you're aware of them, right?
Absolutely, of course.
And do you have a short, sweet answer for what you think they are?
Yeah, to me, it's really obvious when you look at, if you know clouds and you look at the difference between contrails with commercial planes and these aerosol spraying that's going on. It's a combination of many factors, which is why I think they're doing it. But one of them seems overwhelmingly to block out the sun. And I think that that's no means a coincidence. Is it just simply based on wanting to improve our atmosphere? But it's based on this idea of, you know, human consciousness rising so fast.
Hallelujah.
One of the main sources of that is obviously this influence of the sun, and the fact that the sun is almost like this entity in itself of higher consciousness. And I think suns are these direct connections back to the wisdom of the universe itself, essentially.
Beautiful, man. That's exactly what I was going to say. And a year ago, December 15th, I don't know if you're aware of them days between 11th and 15th of December where we're aligned with Orion from ancient days or whatever. But it's said that the conduit from the sun, and I see it as it's the solar system. If you break down, solar means our soul, and then we have solar plexus, we have souls on our feet, and then the sun is also named soul, you know, so it's part of our system of consciousness. Yeah. And light is the consciousness of us. I mean, that is what we are. And in deep meditation, one can attain the singularity light, where they see this little light in their head, you know, in your mind's eye. And that is the light, I believe, that is our higher self, the demiurge, if you will. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
I agree, Steve.
Yes.
That's well said. Absolutely, and we're at this point where we're trying to find our way back to the light, essentially. Unfortunately, I got to go, Steve, on that note.
It's all good. It's all good.
I want to say thank you to everyone that supports me. I have a lot of really great supporters and people that help, including like you, Steve. And I want to just make a quick mention is on the new website I've made called thestageoftime.com. I added, it doesn't show it in the screenshot, but I added a whole page that covers a good amount of ancient writings, including the Atrahasis and the Numa Elish. And the rest of them will be in the Stage of Time, the book, once it releases. But for now, those who want to have a place where the most accurate translations from experts like Stephanie Daly and George Smith, they can go to my website and go to ancient writings and have those present for whenever they want to read them, to have access to it, as well as please check out my my YouTube page at Matthew LaCroix. And Steve's got a great YouTube page. Steve, go ahead and call out your YouTube page too.
Well, it's just a slightly slanted sleuth for the truth, and it is what it is, and that's all I'm after is the truth, the big T, the monad of everything, and that's what I think we're both after, and that's why I commend you, sir. And your book will be the second one I read in my life. How's that?
Well, thank you, Steve. That's an honor. You've certainly gotten a good distance without having to, even, I guess, because of the availability of technology now and having this stuff have access to it.
I think it's not only that, it's the Akashic record, brother. It's within us all. All we have to do is look inward and we can find our answers.
That's right. Well said. Thanks, Steve, and have a great day, and I appreciate all your support, my friend, and everyone else that supports us.
Thank you for this, sir, and sorry for the technical difficulties, and
No problem.
I think it comes hand in hand with the truth, though, brother. Take it easy, bud.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Matt.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for a great discussion, my friend. And I had to go. I have to go use the bathroom, but I tend to drink a lot of water when I talk, so it happens.
Yeah, it was amazing how you. I don't know if you deliberately did it, but you did a wonderful job. From where I gave you my spiel at the beginning, and you were like, "You sure you still want to do this?" And then you came right back into the fold, man. So I commend you for that. That's awesome.
Hey, cool. No, I like to look at it from both ways. I just personally don't believe it's just symbolic. However, I do think that a huge part of understanding it is from that side.
Right.
But,
right.
I think that we're all trying to figure out what exactly they were trying to have us understand, and we're getting there piece by piece.
Right. Yes.
Exactly.
Hey, and I'm gonna walk shoulder to shoulder with you till we do jump off that cliff together.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, I appreciate it. Have a good day. And
You too, bro.
My friend. I know it's been super cold in Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
But I'll catch you later. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, man.
All right. See you later.
Bye. Hey guys, yeah, so I'm back at you now on my lonesome, and I'd like to apologize to you forthright and say, give you my utmost sincere apologies. I want to say that I'm completely, utterly humbled by technology, and we know, who have been following the teachings we've been following, in our little niche here, that all is not as it seems. More is in than out. When I named that live stream, can I come in from the out now? That's essentially what we're doing. And the fact of people like Matthew, who's a wonderful guy. The guy is stupendous in his research techniques and all that he does. I see things more of a spiritual journey now than I ever have, and that is due to one person in particular, and you guys all know who that is. And then all of us as a collective being able to talk to each other and share our experience with each other. And without that, we would never get anywhere near where we've gotten so far. And for that, I appreciate and am humbled by every last one of you. And I appreciate every last one of you. Matt's website is Matthew LaCroix, just like his name, and I have it listed on all these freaking headers that I put out. And this time, I believe it was his audio, because I had the meeting set up, everything, and I had the Zoom set up, the webinar set up, and I had it all set up because that's why I went through the nonsense of putting all those other live streams up earlier, and wasn't, you know, I wasn't explaining myself then, so I apologize. Is there anything you guys would like to discuss before I end this on my end? Because I believe that, you know, everything we discussed here with Matthew, I think on our learning curve, it helps affirm or reaffirm what we've learned, and or what I've learned anyway, and a couple others in the chat here. But I think we need to wrap our minds around the dual opposites, guys, the extreme opposites of everything, because I think this is what's gotten me the furthest. Is think to yourselves right now, what is the most extreme opposite you could think of? The dualist. You know, the furthest apart, or the most contrast of opposites. Give you a few minutes or a couple of seconds, you know, think about that. What am I talking about, Willis? I'm talking about the dualistic nature of humanity. Because the dualistic nature is what creates the friction that creates the mechanism to create the creation. That is what dualism is. Do you know that this all means for us to come to a place of... Yes, I know that's what that means. Yes, I know that's what this means. But first you have to come to the understanding of it. You have to wrap your mind around it. You have to know what it is before you can rest upon the ideal of understanding. That's what I believe it is. You know, and I totally agree with that. And that is my next... I'm going on this trip here, and it's going to be very soon, you know, and I don't want people to start losing faith in that. I'm still coming to your house and knocking on your door and bugging you, you know, but we need to. So what's the most extreme opposites you guys could think of? Come on, start blurting them out here, putting them on a chat here. What do you think it is, Jerry? What's the most extreme opposite? No, good and evil is the easy one. Because the earth is a ball. That doesn't matter. What does it matter? It doesn't matter if the balls are... Let there be truth. Think about it, guys. The inside and the outside. The soul and the physical. Or think of it this way. This is a good one. The sun and its infinite ray of potence. You know, the sun knifing through the night sky. Think about that. There is the most extreme dual opposite there is. Yes, Two Worlds MasterCard symbol. Right. Yes, Miles. Order and chaos. For it was chaos from which order sprang. And that was due to the polarization of the chaotic waters. And that's where we get Tiamat and the Apsu. Yes. And that is exactly what Matt was talking about, how we had lost our connection with the light and the ability to... Doesn't that make sense now, where the glamour was lifted and the serpent-headed being? Because we know that the serpent-headed being is what it looks like when our pineal gland in the top of our head opens up and it's got the circle of the zodiac around it. It looks like a frickin' fish with its mouth open, just like the fish hats. What are those things called that the Pope wear? You know, what are they called? But they look like fish heads, you know, with their mouths open to the sky to suck in the potence of the sunlight. If we grieve the Holy Spirit, it leaves us, leaving our house desolate. Yeah, we have to walk on the a fine line with all of that dogmatic. I'm not saying you're wrong for saying it, but you know, we can't put things in a ancient context anymore as far as the wording. If you understand what I'm getting at there, Paula. You know, I totally agree with you, by the way. But yeah, full of void. But the full of void, that's perfect. Full of void. There's a complete opposite. Right. Mitre hat. There you go. That's what it was. Yes. Yes, that's what it was called. The mitre hat. Right. Yes. And now the mitre hat are exactly... If you look at every story, guys, every story, it's not just this story or that story. It's every freaking story in our existence. Every nursery rhyme adds up to the same damn thing. Yes, we're live. Adds up to the same damn thing. Our quest for the truth, the one monad, the one truth that unifies the two into the one. See, it starts out with the correspondence principle, where, you know, it's the thought of, you know, it's the chicken and the egg is pretty much what mentalism and correspondence is together. And that's how it starts, you know, and that's where the whole chicken, which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Okay? Then the vibration, which is the logos, you know, the all-pervading thought that starts to separate, which causes polarity, which separates the chaos into, it turns the one into two out of the three. Now, this is how I started realizing that every story is the same. The three bears, the three little pigs, the three blind mice, Snow White and the seven dwarfs, Santa Claus and his reindeer. I mean, every freaking story from the top down, all the same. Including our bodies. Our bodies have the same numbers in them. You know, the 7 houses of the Lord. 7 candles. You know, 7 this, 7 that, 12 this, 12 that. 13 being the sacred number. And what's that? Go ahead. Go ahead, what's your name worldwide? 333D. What's your name so I can... One side of a lot of dualities appears to be infinite, and yes, thank you. That is the same as the Hebrew alphabet. Magnitude and correspondence in the letter. It's to make us think we can do nothing on our own. I think sometimes like we came from a bang, like we aren't special creatures. No, we are special, because it is in our self-aware state that creates the motion for the ocean. We are the JoJo that makes it go. That Godhead, here, I'm gonna find it in my phone here real quick. The Godhead, what you call it, here, I'll find it in here, and I'll show it to you. This is what put it all together for me. And I've told everybody this before, but did you finish your thought? Worldwide, triple S, check this out. Oh, okay, quantum computing, D-Wave. Quantum computers operate at 460, yeah, at Kelvin 0, right? Yep. Space is 2.7 Celsius Fahrenheit. So what does that mean? 2.7, 27... What are you getting at there? Oh yeah. Yeah, he's aligned. Quantum computers and outer space is Jeff brother. A Crizzy, the same temperatures, the fourth like quantum computers, which cause one thing being in two places at the same time. The cold is what causes 4D. It slows down the molecular structures so as to create the superpositioning of the 1 and the 0 being in both states at one time, right? Nice, very good, very good, very good. I like that. The qubit is a 1, 0. Yep. Kelvin, absolute zero. Absolute zero is 0 degrees Kelvin, right? But I mean that's what the cold flower of light is, guys. That's the blue truth. That's what the bluish shift is. I remember when you were talking to me about that, Miles, actually. Plasma, yes. They say plasma is cold. That's what Dan Winter talks about. And it's well, I'm Kelvin. I'm 13, which is 0. Right. What is your real name, worldwide? So I don't have to say 3D worldwide. Like at Mia's new glasses, she will show you some plasma. Yeah, but they're missing... Jeff, okay, yeah, you told me that already. Okay, Jeff, sorry, bud. But yeah, I think we are on the cusp of the precipice of something grand. And I think this is what has happened, guys. When he read off the far in the past, before Atlantis existed, men there were who delved into darkness, using dark magic, calling up beings from the great deep below us. Now, forth came they from this cycle. Formless were they of another vibration. Now, they were aware of this knowledge, but they were unwilling to do the great work and the alignment with the soul force. Now, or they knew that everything is a cycle and they wanted to circumvent the system. You know what I'm saying? That's what maybe where the Tower of Babel story came from. But I'm not educated in that, so I'm putting out theory, and maybe I shouldn't even do that. This is the great revelation and epiphany of the apocalypse. Correct. This is true. Now, this whole thing tells me that we are all under the same understanding that this cycle is about to either retransmute or abruptly close the door. Because everything has a morning, everything has a noon, and noon is the I didn't know this until recently. Noon is the middle of the journey, even in the cosmic cycle, you know. And I didn't know that. I didn't know noon was named after exactly what it is the top of the arc of the hero's journey, because I envision everything having that threefold hero journey: a birth, a life, and a death. You know what I'm saying? Like a sundial, yes, exactly like that. But I mean, this whole technology thing today, I spent all freaking day, guys, all day getting this live stream thing set up, and then it come to find out his audio wouldn't work on his end. Dinner breakfast is almost ready. Oh, isn't that nice? A beginning and an end. Yes, but the beginning and the end is exactly where it begins again. And that's what we need to realize, guys. Yes, they are trying to... You're right. You're completely right about that. I got to respond here because of my... Yeah, you're completely right here. And that's exactly what Aaron told me. Aaron told me that they're going to use the cyclical information that's going to be coming out, guys, about, and maybe some of that information is coming from me. But if you've noticed, I was talking to Lynn when they shut me down. I was about to lay some awakening on her, and they shut me down. Oh, the gremlins got you too, huh? Yeah. Well, that technology shit's just, it's starting to really frustrate me. But if you haven't noticed, I'm a little more low-key on the whole emotion thing now. And it's been a arduous journey, to say the least. And if not for you guys, who would I be? And I mean that. Yes, Jerry Runk, you are my brother from another effing mother. And I love you with all my heart, brother. You're never going to be alone. Yes, you did, Miles. Yes, you did. And I've seen you, Miles, grow from a straight pompous dickhead to one of the best people I've ever come across on YouTube. And for that, I appreciate you in every way imaginable. I have also had a rough road, and I'm glad to have all of you. I love you guys. I love you too, Live Free. You know what I mean? I mean, we, in this little niche right here, and there's a few others that gave up on the stream because they were pissed off and frustrated, so they had to go watch other things, which I don't blame them, you know. But there's Brandy as well. Brandy, I love you too, sister. You know, we are all on a journey that in the end will benefit us. There's my angel, my earthly angel. How are you, sweetheart? I miss you. I miss conversing with you. You too, Brandy. And Brandy, I don't know if you watched my recent live stream with right, something to waste more time. Exactly. Brandy, that when I was telling you that you're too focused on negative, I was wrong. I should have never told you that. You know? You're part of my journey, guys. I'm not just a part of yours. You're done learning Hebrew. Danielle, that's some deep shit, though. I totally agree with you. Them letters are some... It's the code. It's the algorithm. And I tried explaining that. It's so funny that... you know, Matt, when we started, before we started, we had this conversation, and I tried to explain to him in a layman's perspective, of course, because it's too deep for, you can't explain none of this shit to anybody, really, because that's the beauty of it, how one singular thing can be a personal journey for every one of us, and you can't convey it at all to anybody else. And everybody's journey is going to be unique to them. Because the path to that light is going to be unique to them. So you can't really knock anybody for sleeping, because it's almost impossible to explain any of this to anybody that is in this physical world, because there is no proof per se, except for it's in the Bible. And I'm not kidding with you now, guys. I can read the Bible and understand it now, and understand the messages that are told in it. Whereas before I just got lost after 3 freaking verses, and I was like, this is stupid, But I mean, this whole Emerald Tablet book, I got it decoded, the whole damn thing. I got it decoded. I know exactly what it means from beginning to end now. And I'm not gloating over it. I'm proud of the fact that we have come so far, and we owe Phil Langdon a huge thank you. I mean, I owe him that anyway, because if it weren't for him, and you guys are a big player in that too, but I mean, he is our Messiah, folks, and I don't care what anybody says. He's our ascended master. Everybody can have their physicists. Everybody can have their philosophers. But, I'll take my Phil over any of them any day. And if Phil, if you're hearing this, don't think I'm pumping you up just because. But, I mean, you know what I mean. The letters, they are, yep, 3 times 3 times 3, huh? Ain't that incredible? 7 raised and 7 split to 12. Yes, which is 13 in the center. Beautiful. That is what every story in the Bible is about too. Every story in the nursery rhymes, if you really break it down, that's why they all have these numbers. That's why they all correlate and they all flow together. You know what I mean? And in the spiritual, the reason why we are attracted to people that are like us is because we're in the spiritual side of things now. In the physical, we're attracted to people that are exactly the opposite of us, because that's what makes the machine go. In the physical is because one will fulfill one side of the thing and the other will fulfill the other side. But then when we get into the spiritual aspect of it, we start feeling lonely. The one does not complement the other. And I've recently figured that out. You know what I mean? Yes, Jeff, thanks for right there, that whole quantum computer thing. And remember when that guy unveiled that quantum computer, how he said it's like standing at the altar of an alien god when he unveiled the quantum computer, when they first started talking about it. The Fibonacci sequence, correct. The 1, 3, 5, 8, 13, 30, what is it? 8, 13, 21, 40, 34, is it? I don't know. But you know what I mean? Yes. But hey guys, my dinner's done. And all the king's horses and all the king's men. Yeah, think about it, guys. Okay, now, seriously, until we meet again, which will be in a little bit, because I got so much on my mind I want to talk to you guys about. Do thought exercises in your mind about complete opposites and how they correlate to the static of our reality, because it is that static, that dielectric static, or that, because that static is exactly like when you rub your feet on a carpet and then you touch something and you get that spark. That is what our universe is. And it's created by the polarity, the dualistic, the rubbing of the two sticks together. That is what creates the energy, in essence, within us, and creates us. And then we recreate it. And I think the whole dark aspect of our reality is needed for the light to exist too. Without darkness, where would the light shine? Without light, where would the darkness shine? In the Emerald Tablets it states, oh, here, and this prayer right here is what really got, mighty spirit of light that shines through the cosmos, draw my flame closer in harmony to thee. Lift up my fire from out of the darkness, magnet of fire that is one with thee all. Lift up my soul, thou mighty and potent. Child of the light, turn not away. Draw me in power to melt in thy furnace. One with all things and all things in one. Fire of the life strain and one with the brain. That prayer, just 4 weeks ago, I was saying over and over and over and over, writing it on every comment, writing it on every video, stating it over and over and over again. Had no clue what it meant. But that prayer embodies the divine union, the great work we are finding ourselves within right now. Mighty spirit of light that shines through the cosmos. That is the pineal light that shines through the cosmos, the demiurge. Draw my flame closer in harmony to thee. Drawing our inner flame, the fire, is our essence, the gnosis and the life force, the triangles inside of us, drawing it to that light. Yes, you can do whatever you want with whatever materials I have. That's why I demonetized everything, and that's why I'm not taking a penny in return for anything that I do now. Okay, so flame closer in harmony to thee. Lift up my fire from out of the darkness. Magnet of fire that is one with thee all. Be a magnet. You know what I'm saying? Be a magnet. Lift up my soul, thou mighty and potent. Child of the light, turn not away. Draw me in power to melt in thy furnace. One with all things and all things in one. Now this is the most important thing of it. One with all things and all things in one. Fire of the life strain and one with the brain. All right? I'm going to go eat. I'll be back after my fat kid tank is filled. And yes, guys. You know, in my I want to say a lot more, but I'll be back. Love you guys. Thank you. Rubber glue. Nice, Jerry.